It took some convincing to get cruise ship crew to open up about most things I'm going to talk about. In some cases, it was only by teasing it out from crew members that have recently given up life at sea, and so were willing to share more secretive things I'm going to reveal. Welcome aboard, I'm Gary Bembridge, and as well as talking about serious things, like the presence of cruise ship mafia, I'll also share what crew really think about two big divisive issues amongst passengers: towel animals and the hiding of rubber ducks. But first, I wanted to get the inside track from crew on three issues and theories I have as a passenger about cabins, starting with guaranteed cabins. Guaranteed cabins are when you've booked a fare where you don't choose your own cabin and the cruise line allocates one in the category booked. I always wondered how that works. Crew told me that cabin allocation is normally done by a department known as revenue management. They're the people that manage the overall cabin pricing, promotions, and allocation. I also found that guaranteed cabin assignment is not random, but based on an algorithm or, in fact, a system. Loyalty Club members are allocated cabins first in order of their status, getting the available, better rated cabins, better cabins being ones with good location, size, distance from no noisy areas, and so on. Apparently, couples are next in the priority list before solo travelers, while families, they try to get clustered near kid-friendly areas. Through this process, they allocate cabins from best down to those with known issues. These issues may include simple things like proximity to elevators, location under the pool deck, adjacent to noisy venues, next to crew service area doors, or ones that tend to receive more complaints. This revelation seems to confirm my belief that the crew know in detail cabins that have problems, but I have more specific proof from other crew members I spoke to. Based on my experience, when I've had problem cabins, I've always been of the view that cruise ships know about these from the way crew react when I complain. One example was my last Azamara Quest cruise. I quickly discovered the cabin I had booked was underneath some sort of kitchen, service area, working area for the buffet above. From about 4 a.m, there was loud rumbling noises, trolleys, equipment being moved around. That would continue during, on and off, and it kept going through opening hours and beyond. When I went to speak to guest services about it, without even having to explain the issue, as soon as I said my cabin number and I had an issue, I could see they clearly knew about it and they offered me an alternative cabin immediately. This has happened on other trips with real problem cabins on other lines too. Talking to crew, some told me on their ships they had an internal document which is called the noise map or the problem map, with every cabin on every deck that has a known issue marked. These problems are mostly noise related, like engine vibration, public venues, or even perhaps a structural issue that's causing a problem noise. One crew member who worked on Norwegian, for example, says a known issue is on deck 14 forward cabins that are under the outdoor sports complex where the racetrack operates, causing a steady vibration and noise. They know they will get complaints on every cruise and will move people if anything is available, but they wait for people to raise it. If you ever contact guest services with an issue, they know from that noise map if there is a known problem. It's not a public list and they will never actually acknowledge it. Related to this is also something cabin related that I wondered about regarding maintenance issues, having seen very variable ways on how it gets dealt with. What I discovered from crew members was revealing and also helpful. First, they told me there is a best time of the day to report a maintenance issue, be it air conditioning, bathroom, balcony door, or whatever issue you may have. It seems the worst time to report a non-urgent issue is between 5 p.m. and 8 p.m, as the maintenance team are likely to be caught up with maintenance issues related to dinner, drinks, and entertainment activities. They all get priority. It's busy and they're unlikely to get to any maintenance issues in a cabin quickly. The best time to report a maintenance issue is between 8 a.m. and 11 a.m, I'm told. The crew tell me this is because guests are having breakfast, going off on excursions, out in the port, and it's their quietest time. On some ships, the maintenance team crews say that they can often get to your issue in as little as 15 minutes, but it will be hours potentially during peak time. I saw that on my recent Holland America Zaandam trip with an air conditioning control issue. I had reported it at 9 a.m. They were there and had it sorted by 9:20 a.m. Crew said there were two other key things to know. First, be extremely specific when reporting a maintenance issue. So don't just say, I've got a problem with my air conditioning, but say in detail the actual issue in as much detail as you possibly can. I had done that, so when they come along, they're well equipped, they know exactly what to do, they've got the likely tools, any parts that they think they might need. Second, when you report an issue to guest services, not only do they log it, but they allocate a priority. So they decide their priorities and how quickly it will likely get seen to. On most ships, it seems to be level 1 if they see it as a safety issue, or perhaps you've got no water and they feel it needs an immediate response. Level 2 is if they see it as a more comfort issue, like air conditioning. And these are likely to be seen as okay to address in a couple of hours or so. Level 3 is what they see as cosmetic issues, so perhaps some furniture is damaged or something is not kind of working quite right. This is seen as fine to take at least a day or more to sort. So crew say it's important when you report it to explain in detail and hopefully get your issue a level 1 or at worst a level 2 priority. Another remarkable thing the crew spoke about is the cruise ship mafia. The cruise ship mafia is not quite as we know it from films like The Godfather. It isn't organized crime at sea or secret gangs running ships. It's something more human and actually much more interesting. With 1,000, 2,000 crew members on a ship, 40 or more nationalities, they're all living and working together for months at a time, they naturally start to form very tight networks that are usually nationality based. Sometimes, entire galley teams, housekeeping teams, bar teams are often from or dominated by one country. They form a very close-knit network, perhaps Filipinos, Indonesians, or so on. And they start to look out for each other, they make things happen, they can influence decisions, and sometimes they can even influence career opportunities on board. This, though, can help us as passengers too. If you have an issue, it may be that a crew member you speak to may know someone in that kind of mafia group, a roommate, a friend, someone they hang out with off duty, that could actually solve your problem behind the scenes. For example, I once had a broken suitcase and guest services said it wasn't something the ship could help with. I mentioned it to my stateroom attendant and he said he could get it fixed because a Filipino handyman friend within his sort of group had fixed one before for another guest. So they may be able to help you through their contacts, get you into a show that's sold out, an excursion you've missed out, or any other problems. It's worth seeing if you can tap into it. I also discovered in talking to crew that several also had a second hidden job behind the scenes. I found this out when my cabin steward had a rather nifty haircut and found it was by a crew member that I also knew. That crew member moonlighted as a hairdresser behind the scenes after hours to earn more money. Various crew members have alternative jobs and ways of earning money behind the scenes. But what about crew attitudes to towel animals and rubber ducks that I mentioned at the start? On my recent Holland America Zeelandam cruise, I posted pictures and video clips of a sprawling towel animal zoo the crew had set up on the pool deck, and also of animals that had been left in my cabin by my cabin steward. Now, many people commenting on those posts were very much against these, arguing that crew are so busy, they're looking at between 20 to 25 cabins, that getting them to make towel animals on top of that is wasteful and unnecessary. So I spoke to crew members about this and I was actually rather surprised about the view on the topic. Several that I spoke to said they had made around 4,000 towel animals in their career so far, with a monkey taking 2 minutes, an elephant 90 seconds, and a swan around 45 seconds. This is the one they make, by the way, when they're running a bit behind schedule. Do they mind making them? Well, most I spoke to said that while making them is not huge fun and it's rather repetitive, but the excited and joyful reactions they get to them, particularly on cruise lines when kids are there, actually makes the effort worthwhile. They also get motivated by adults, I guess like me, who congratulate them, photograph and share them on social media. And in the experience, they feel it does also encourage people to leave gratuities while thanking them for the towel animals at the end of the cruise. Personally, I worry it takes up a lot of time, and so I mentioned to the crew not to bother if they start making them. Something the crew I spoke to encourage us all to do if we don't want them. But how do they feel about the trend of passengers hiding rubber ducks around the ship for others to find? The crew I spoke to were very divided on this. While some agreed it was fun, it was a charming activity, and some of them actually collect them to take home to their kids, it does create additional work because they have to monitor and remove them if they're left in food areas, places that could be a safety risk, may encourage passengers to enter restricted or crew areas to find them, or risk damaging areas of the ship. This is why, for example, Royal Caribbean banned them in the Central Park area on their ships because cruisers were trampling plants to leave and seek them. Crew on some lines are also required to look at and actually remove them. For example, on Disney, as they're seen as being disruptive and potential safety hazards for children, they're told to look out for them and remove them, another task to do. But I also discovered there are things that passengers who think they're being polite and helpful to crew are not helping them with at all. So join me over in this video where I tell you what they are and why crew members wish we would stop doing them. See you over there.